Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga, match day 33. We didn't have La Liga the weekend. We have a Copa del Rey final. So this week, 2 match days. Alvaro, great success for Real Sociedad. For Matarazzo, he arrived in the middle of the season with a Real Sociedad lost, and now they are very close to the European spots and with a trophy. Once again, many people were making jokes about the Real Sociedad players going to Arsenal to win trophies, and then it was Arsenal to win more trophies than the Gunners so far.
Well, congratulations to them. That's what I can say. They won the cup in the penalty shootout. It's their second cup in 5 years, because I don't remember if they won it in 2020 or 2020. I remember that they won it in 2021, but I don't know if officially they won the Cup 2020 or the Cup 2021, because during the pandemic, 2020, there was no cup competition, and in 2021, there were 2 finals in a row. This is what I meant. 2 finals in the space of 3 weeks. But yeah, congratulations to them. I think that Matarazzo has done a really good job since arriving to Real Sociedad. This is a very important title for them, because they know that they will qualify at least for the Europa League for the next season. And I will say that Real Sociedad still has a chance, if they take it seriously, of catching Betis. Betis is only 4 points away from them. And if Real Sociedad ends up the season qualifying for the Champions League, just in the event of the 5th spot in La Liga, giving access to the Champions League, it will be a massive success, one of the biggest turnarounds I have seen in La Liga's history. So again, congratulations to Real Sociedad. I think that Atletico de Madrid has all their chips in the Champions League right now, and it's going to be a very interesting week, because there are good games coming up, especially in the relegation side of the table.
Well, it was the very first time in La Liga history that the 5 teams in the bottom won all 5 their games. So the fight for to avoid relegation is a good one, since it looks like we don't have any other fights in La Liga. But let's analyze every game. Thanks for your comments, guys. Leave, of course, your predictions in the comment sections or ask any question to Alvaro Romeo. Let's go on now with the show. First game is Athletic Osasuna. Athletic still need 1 win to be absolutely safe, +6 with the relegation. I don't think they are going to get in trouble, but they are losing 4 defeats in the last 5 La Liga games against Villarreal and Getafe. The last 2, Osasuna, Alvaro, on the other hand, with some options to play in Europe, coming from 2 draws, Betis and Alaves.
Yeah, but this can change very quickly as well, because Osasuna, as you rightly say, has options of playing in Europe, but Athletic de Bilbao too, and they are 1 point away from Osasuna. This is a bit strange, because Athletic is looking down because they are not too far from relegation, but at the same time, they are as close to relegation as they are to the 6th spot. So they are equidistant between those 2 very different events. But it's true, Athletic is not going through a good period right now. Their last win was against Betis, and I remember that even that game was very, very, very difficult, and they got 3 points out of the last 15. And against Villarreal in the last game before La Liga stopped for 10 days, there were boos in San Mamés for the team, something that you haven't heard this season, but the season has been poor. Really, it's the last season of Ernesto Valverde. I think that Athletic de Bilbao probably has lost more games than won this season, because in the Champions League, they only collected 2 wins, 1 or 2 draws, and then the rest were defeats as well. So Athletic de Bilbao has gotten used to losing this season. Last season was straight the opposite. I think that Athletic lost 4 or 5 games in La Liga, which was incredible. Good news for Athletic, I suppose, this week. We know that Uriarte is going to be the president for the next 4 years, because there were no real candidates to challenge him. And they are receiving Osasuna in San Mamés. Osasuna is in a little bit of a better dynamic than Athletic. They got 1 more point, but away from home, they haven't been good this season. 2 wins away only and 10 points away from home. That is a poor run. Then at El Sadar, they are very decent, more than decent, but away from home are not reliable. So I'm going to go for an Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Athletic Club, or even Athletic to win. If the game starts and I have the feeling that Athletic can win it, I want to see how they start playing, I will put my bet straight on Athletic to win. And I want to add one more thing. This is a very interesting individual battle, if I may, between Nico Williams, who will be back, and Víctor Muñoz. Víctor Muñoz is the player who is taking over Nico Williams' position in the Spanish national team, or who might take over that position. But I just want to compare some numbers. Víctor Muñoz this season has played 10 more games than Nico Williams, 900 more minutes. He has scored 4 goals. He has recorded 2 assists. Nico Williams playing far less, 4 goals, 2 assists. He's a better player, but he has to recover in order for Spain to have more chances in the World Cup.
Good point. Indeed, good point. 𝐿𝐭𝐼 seeing a draw in this game. Next one, this is fully for the relegation battle. Mallorca, Valencia, only 1 point between these two teams. Mallorca only 2 points away from Elche, and they've won the last 2 home games against Rayo and Real Madrid. Valencia desperate at least to get a draw after the defeats against Elche and Celta, when we thought they were almost safe, Álvaro.
Yeah, and Valencia lost games that perhaps they could have, or in their calculations against Elche, they were probably thinking about recording or getting at least 1 point, but they ended up losing. Then the defeat against Celta is slightly more understandable because back at the time, 14, 15 days ago, Celta was in a great dynamic. But yeah, Valencia is not safe yet. And the teams in the bottom of the table, say Levante, Elche, and Oviedo, are getting loads of wins lately. So Alaves, Sevilla, Mallorca, Valencia, they cannot fall asleep. That's for sure. I trust Mallorca a little bit more for this game. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, because Mallorca comes at the back of 2 straight wins, right? And this tells you that this is a team on the rise. Also because they are playing at home. And also because probably they know that this is their chance just to break their bad luck and to eject from relegation. They are playing against Valencia now, and then against Alaves. This is a good chance for Mallorca, and under the Michelis, the dynamic has changed. I mean, he's the best coach in the first 5 debut games for Mallorca since Hector Cooper in 1997. With the Michelis, Mallorca got 10 points out of 15, okay? And then they've got a scorer like 𝗵𝗵𝗏, who has scored already 21 goals. So for those reasons, number 1, good dynamic. Number 2, 𝗵𝗵𝗏 scoring. I'm going to go for Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Mallorca, which pays a lot for a home side, 2.15. Otherwise, there is a beautiful combination here. I believe in Mallorca for this game. It will be Mallorca to win and 𝗵𝗵𝗏 to score. Altogether 6.5. It happens more than you think. And one more thing about 𝗵𝗵𝗏, 21 goals in La Liga. I mean, apparently Barcelona doesn't dislike him. I don't think that he's the quality of Barcelona, but I'm just saying that he's been in the rumor mill.
I don't dislike him also for Real Madrid. For instance, 𝗵𝗵𝗏 to score. We have one comment here. Sam Knight also going for both teams to score. Amir going for Mallorca. Very interesting game, this one. Girona Betis is the next one. Girona, 38 points, also need 1 win to be absolutely safe, and I would say they can get it here because Betis are drifting away. It was a major disappointment, the defeat against Braga when they were leading 2-0. They had all the chips in the Europa League. It looks like even might cost the job to Pellegrini. Let's see if he stays next season, because again, the season for Betis, Álvaro, it's true that they had so many injuries, but it's so. And in La Liga, 5 draws and 2 defeats in the last 7. So they have to grab the 5th spot, although now it's also very likely that Germany gets the 5 teams to go to the Champions League next season.
That's the thing. But Betis is, in a way, the architect of its own failure, right? because they were knocked out from the Europa League and Spanish football lost coefficient. It wasn't a good week, by the way, for Spanish sides in Europe. I think that Spain in total has 2 representatives left in Europe. One is Rayo Vallecano. Kudos to them. The other one is Atletico de Madrid. 2 out of 12 remaining teams. If we put together the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Conference League. The Premier League, for example, has still 4 representatives, just to give you an example. Coming into this game, can I talk about Betis a little bit? Because I think that their bad moment is the biggest news for me. Girona have lost one game out of the last 5, which is for me a sign of a healthy team. I mean, a team that in total has collected 10 points out of the last 15 is fine. Again, the trajectory is good. The dynamic is good. I think that Girona is not going to lose this game. But for me, the money is in both teams to score. And in fact, I'm giving the tip now. Both teams to score for me. 170 is a very good one here. But just very quickly on Betis. I think that one of the biggest hopes of Betis this season was to get 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐿 back in time to play the Europa League semifinals. Okay? And that is not going to happen because they are out of the Europa League after what they did against Braga. So right now, 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐿 are back, but they are back too late. And maybe their form is not the best yet. So the season will always have this feeling of what if we have had these players, the best players of the team probably, available when it mattered. But that is not going to happen. Now for Betis, it's about recalibrating their targets and trying to hit the 5th spot. But it's not going to be so easy because I believe the Real Sociedad, maybe this midweek, they're going to screw it because probably they will be still celebrating the win against Atletico. But Real Sociedad is a strong candidate to catch with Betis. So Betis cannot fall asleep. Anyway, coming into this game, both teams to score.
All right. Shadras also going for both teams to score. 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐿 1x, trusting Girona. Eric, La Liga is so hard this season. Money to be made in other leagues. Well, Liga also this season is very tough, and Serie A, I would say, exactly the same with so many surprises. Next game, Álvaro, Real Madrid, Alaves. Let's see the atmosphere at the Bernabeu after the defeat against Bayern Munich. So Real Madrid have 3 home games until the end of the season and nothing to play for. And we are at the end of April. Very disappointing season. 2nd season in a row without the big trophies. Everyone is talking about the future, of course, about Arbeloa, but also about the top players. I must say that if it was about me, Álvaro, also Vinicius want to stay in Madrid after seeing what we've seen in the last 2 seasons. But again, let's see the atmosphere. Not sure if it's good to bet on Real Madrid games lately. Remember that they threw away La Liga by losing in Mallorca and with the draw against Girona, because at least they could have put pressure on Barcelona in these last weeks. Alaves still fighting to get the salvation and stay 1 season more in Primera División. Only +1 with Elche, so they are fighting for their lives.
Yeah, they are. And Real Madrid is not, but Real Madrid are fighting for their pride, and that counts as well, really, especially in front of Santiago Bernabeu, who will probably be unhappy about what has happened this season so far. This is the kind of game in which, and I'm going to give you the tip now, I think that the start of the game may be difficult. If Real Madrid doesn't score quickly, then there will be some boos. The crowd, probably the most vocal part of the crowd, will show the players that they are not happy with their performance all throughout the season. And perhaps this is the kind of game in which finally in the second half, Real Madrid's big stars can make a difference. But I think the game can get stuck up a little bit at the start. So I'm going to go for a draw at 20 minutes or a draw at 30 minutes. Obviously, the draw at 20 minutes pays fewer bucks than the draw at 30 minutes. But both of them are quite interesting for me. I like it. Draw at 20 minutes, 162. But I think Madrid is going to win it eventually because they need to do it in front of their fans. And Real Madrid to win the second half, 155 would be my pick. So yeah, those would be my parameters. Real Madrid starting slowly, maybe having some sort of a player fan discussion dynamic over there at the start of the game. A draw at 20 minutes, I can see it, but Real Madrid just coming back in the second half and wrapping it up. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. Just very quickly on Real Madrid, congratulations to the youth league team for winning the youth Champions League. I think that this is important too for Real Madrid. Why not? But when it comes to the season, I think that there are many decisions to make right now. I'm not that critical of Vinicius as some Madridistas. I suspect that you, Edu, are here quite critical as well. But if Vinicius wasn't trying, or he wasn't trying to be the leader of Real Madrid, I will criticize him more. But I just think that maybe things are not going for him perfectly. But he's never saying, I don't want the ball. He's never saying, I don't want to take the leadership. He's never saying, I don't want to dribble past this player. He's trying really hard. And I think that he's successful many times. But the problem is that the club told him in 2024 endless times that he was the best player of the pitch. And then that summer, they signed a player to play in the same position as him, or at least a player who played in the same position, {𝗵𝗫𝗀}. And that connection has never worked for Real Madrid. That connection is not a good connection because none of the players defend very well. Sorry, Edu. You were telling me something. Oh, sorry.
I agree that they don't mix up. They don't mix up well. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so this is one of the problems of Real Madrid altogether with the midfield situation, in my opinion. It's not good enough. I think that in midfield, Real Madrid has big problems. I think that it's promising to see that the youth league team has done well and that 𝗀𝗏𝗏 is doing so well at Olympique Lyon. Maybe in summer it's time to think about the future of Rodrigo or Brahim or a player like this and perhaps give an option to 𝗀𝗏𝗏. I don't know. 𝗀𝗏𝗏, sorry. I don't know. But coming into this game, as I said, draw at 20 minutes, 162, Real Madrid to win the second half. Those would be my bets. And when it comes to Alaves, just congratulations to Tony Martinez for the great season he's having. He started in England, then he went to Porto, and he's scoring goals for Alaves. It's not easy. And with 𝗀𝗏𝗏, he has created a partnership similar of that one between Lucas Perez and Joselu 4 years ago for Alaves, I will say. And their goals are keeping the team alive.
Well, if Real Madrid don't start strong this game, I'm sure we are going to hear whistles, boos, and supporters are not be happy at all. And I think they are going to point to Vinicius, especially, but also 𝗵𝗫𝗏 is under scrutiny despite the good numbers. He's not delivering in the important games. Indeed, a lot of things to talk about Real Madrid and the future, but second season in a row, no big trophies. Talking about trophies, Álvaro, Elche, Atletico de Madrid. Atletico Madrid couldn't win the Copa del Rey final. They started the game very poorly. They had their chances. Probably they had more chances than Real Sociedad, but they lost it, and it's been already some seasons without a trophy. Next week, they have the chance to play Arsenal in the Champions League semi-finals. So this game doesn't mean anything for Atletico de Madrid, and it means the life for Elche right now in relegation spots. We saw Simeone put in the third team, I would say, against Sevilla. So I would expect exactly the same, Álvaro. So good options for Elche to grab points here.
Yeah, I'm going to go for an Asian handicap plus 0.25 for Elche, meaning that if they draw, you get half a win, and if they win, you get all your stake. That pays 171. And I like it because Elche has recorded 28 points at home this season. So at home, they've been more than decent, then away from home is their problem. Basically, Elche away from home has been super poor. When it comes to playing in the Martinez Valero, yes, they have been competitive. They got 6 points out of 9, and they are more needed than Atletico de Madrid because, let's face it, I mean, what is the incentive or the motivation to finish third or fourth in La Liga? The reward is going to be exactly the same. It's going to be exactly the same. And Betis on 5th spot is not really pushing Atletico de Madrid. They are so far away that Atletico knows that even if they got like 3-4 points from now until the end of the season, they will qualify for the Champions League again. So Atletico is going to rotate massively because they will be playing against Arsenal in the Champions League in midweek, as you said. So I'm going to back Elche here. I think that Atletico de Madrid may or will rotate as much as they can. and if not in midweek now, over the weekend is going to be a massive rotation thing. The team must be tired after playing against Barcelona, such a contested tie, and then playing against Real Sociedad with an extra time included and a penalty shootout included. By the way, I read a few comments from our listeners saying that Julian Alvarez and Sorloth disappointed them. Yeah, I mean, but it was a logical pick, I would say, for Simeone to pick his two best strikers to take the first two penalties. But that didn't happen. You never know anyway with the penalty shootout. Sometimes the younger players step up and they do it, and sometimes the oldest players or the most experienced or the more able players don't make it. Do you remember when Granada went down? Jorge Molina was 41, 42 years old, and he took a decisive penalty. And I would have thought, okay, he's over 40, he's got all the experience, he will score it, and he missed it. So you never know in a penalty shootout anyway. But yeah, bad week for Atletico de Madrid, for sure.
Roberto Baggio in the USA final in '94, the best player in the world, and then you miss it. It's impossible to know. Trezeguet in the final with Italy, France-Italy. In 06, sorry, it's impossible to know. Simeone should step down for a new manager. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if he leaves the club at the end of the season. I would say he's gonna leave with a trophy under the arms if he had won the Copa del Rey or for sure the Champions League, but let's see. If I think it would be good to see a new manager. Perhaps Luis Enrique could be the perfect match for Atletico de Madrid if after winning two Champions League in a row for PSG, if he wins this one, he decides to leave. But a lot of ifs in this sentence. Next game on Wednesday, also Real Sociedad Getafe is going to be a big party, of course, in Anoeta. We saw on Monday the roads, the streets of San Sebastián completely full to celebrate the trophy. No one thought about a trophy for sure when Francisco was in charge, and then Matarazzo changed everything. But even as you mentioned, in La Liga, they are only 4 points away from Betis, so let's see if the players are still hungover or not to beat Getafe. Getafe also have options to play in Europe, Alvaro, but I listened to Bordalás after the game against Levante where they lost that they were not thinking about Europe, and I have the feeling, and I guess it's fair enough, that they are satisfied also with the position they are in the table. The job is done, and perhaps it's even good not going to Europe for Getafe.
Yeah, but just let's try to think about this like you are in your office and you have had a terrible month of work with plenty of targets to hit, plenty of things to do. You have to produce loads of stuff. And once you get there and you do it, you have this feeling of decompression. And it's very difficult to come back from it. Even if your manager, your boss, of the owner of the company you're working for tells you, you know what, if you give me the extra mile, I'm going to give you an extra 1,000, let's say. It's difficult to come back from a decompression. I really think that this is what happens to Getafe and what has happened to Getafe over the last years when they got safe in mid-April, but then they didn't do the step forward. It's not that they don't want to, but they don't have to. That's the thing. It's not in their target list. And, you know, that's reality, really. They are playing now against Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad has a target, however, to play in the Champions League, I suppose, or not, because winning the Europa League has been enough. I remember Athletic de Bilbao winning not the Europa League, the Spanish Cup in 2024, and after that, they let it go a little bit because they knew that they were playing in the Europa League the next season. So let's see if Real Sociedad goes for the Champions League. But Getafe has no targets. However, coming into this game, it's only 3 days and a half ago that Real Sociedad won the Cup. I've seen the party. Even on Monday, Real Sociedad was celebrating with their fans in San Sebastián. Pellegrino Matarazzo was reading some papers in Basque language. It was good to see, but I know that the players don't have the right focus to play this game. Okay? So I'm going to go for a double chance for Getafe here. Or over 2 goals. Over 2 goals, 197 is something that I like better, probably. Yes, I think that this game can be slightly feisty. None of the teams having like a massive target to achieve right now, at least in this midweek. So over 2 goals plays pretty decently. And when it comes to Real Sociedad, just a few names I want to bring out. Marrero, the second choice goalkeeper, for obvious reasons. He saved 2 penalties. Gonzalo Guedes, I always say that his habitat is La Liga, and he's still proving that. And another one that maybe we hear of much more over the next 10 years. John Martin, a defender, 19 years old, from the generation of 𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗍. And I think that perhaps Spain has a very good centre back in there for the foreseeable future.
All right, let's go to Barcelona, Barça, Celta Vigo also on Wednesday. Last game for Barcelona was at the Metropolitano, where they were very close to get into the Champions League semi-finals, but once again they were down to 10 men, and the dream of the Champions League faded away. At least they are going to win La Liga, second Liga in a row with Hansi Flick. It looks like he's going to renew his contract for a couple of years more. And they are thinking about new strikers, as you mentioned. Ferran Torres or Lewandowski, or both, might leave the club. So Barcelona are looking for a new striker. Despite the disappointment in the Champions League, Alvaro, it's true that they haven't eliminated a big European team in more than 5 years. But the season in La Liga has been very good. They've been the best team in Spain. And once again, they are going to win La Liga. They are super favorites here also because Celta, they are crumbling in this month of April. In La Liga, it's only 1 win in the last 5, and they were run over by Freiburg in the Europa League.
Yeah, I think it was a 6-1 on aggregate for Celta. Yeah, Celta right now is suffering a little bit. They have to consolidate the 6th spot and take it if they want to qualify for Europe again. It's not going to be easy because teams behind them are pushing a little bit. Real Sociedad especially, we have spoken about them. It's true anyway that Giraldez's time at Celta is a positive one. I mean, I think that he reached 100 games last week and he won 44 and drew 22. So I feel that the numbers are more than decent. But still, yeah, it's slightly disappointing that Celta was never competitive against Freiburg. That is the biggest problem. You can lose, but losing by such a big aggregate is obviously not nice. When it comes to Barcelona, look, if you had asked me in 2024 when Real Madrid signed Mbappé what was going to be the future, I would have told you that Real Madrid would have dominated domestically for 3, 4, 5 years, and it hasn't been that way. Perhaps because Barcelona has brought up a very good generation of players all together with a manager who is a natural optimistic. And yeah, losing in the Champions League was disappointing, even though, you know, I like Barcelona's performance. I think they were very, very good, even playing with 10 men. But sometimes in football, these things happen. And, you know, I will never embrace the theories of Laporta saying that the referees didn't let Barcelona go through and all that. In that tie, maybe there were decisions that affected Barcelona, and one of them for me was a clear penalty, was the Marc Pubil goal kick routine. But you have to survive and live up to that and continue playing. And that's all, really. And I feel the players are defending the club very well, playing football really well, fighting. The likes of Dani Olmo, a player who got plenty of injuries, has given Barcelona 6 weeks of great football, playing as a holding midfielder or as a number 6. The players have delivered. Now it's time for the club to deliver and upgrade the front line, because right now I have the feeling that Lamine Yamal is too lonely up front, too lonely. I think Ferran will continue. I will offer him the same contract, what he has now. He hasn't been a great winger because they signed him to be a good winger, but he has become a good deputy striker. So I think he deserves a contract extension. Lewandowski will go. Barcelona will save money there because his salary is really, really high. And Marcus Rashford, he doesn't have the makings or the boiling blood to be a top professional. I think he's a very cold player. But anyway, coming into this game, Barcelona has gotten 48 points at home, 16 games, 16 wins. So I'm going to go for Barcelona to win the second half because the money is there, 153. Otherwise, Lamine to score, I like it. He's doing everything. He's taking the penalties. Rafinha is not there, so it's everything about Lamine up front. Lamine to score 191. And if you want to go for the big money, Asian handicap minus 1.5 for Barcelona, 170. I like that one. I think that they can beat Celta by 2 goals.
All right, 𝐿𝐭𝐵𝐿𝐿 going for 2-1, 3-1 or 4-1, Barça and both things to score. Shadra, Barça to win both halves. William, Jamal to score. Jamal was also very good in the Champions League, but it was not enough for Barcelona to go through. They want to win La Liga against Real Madrid in El Clásico, and they have a really good run in this La Liga. The numbers are great. If we see the numbers, only 1 draw and 4 defeats this season for Barcelona. And for Thursday, we have 3 games. Levante Sevilla is the first one. This is a key game for Sevilla because they are only 2 points away from the relegation. Actually, when they played Atletico de Madrid, they were in the bottom 3, but luckily for them, they won that game, so they are out, and it's not easy to go to Valencia in this moment in time because Levante are getting points here or there. They are still alive, beat Getafe, at home they beat Oviedo, they beat Alaves, Álvaro, and they are also favorites to beat Sevilla. By the way, it's the fair of Seville this week, so everyone is drunk in this city in this week, so be careful, players, stay away from the bars and from the area because you are fighting to stay in Primera División in Valencia.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's scary to look at the bottom of the table. And I suppose that for Sevilla or for Valencia, looking down and seeing that Alaves has lost only one game in 5, that Elche got 6 points out of 9, that Levante got 8 points out of 15, and Oviedo, the bottom of the table, got 10 points out of 15, that's a bit scary. Nobody expected the teams at the bottom of the table to do so well in April. Normally, these things don't tend to happen. We are used to seeing one team, perhaps, doing very well, fighting the odds, just threatening everyone with coming out from relegation and having a great run, but 4 teams at the same time, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th, you don't see it. And this game is quite crucial. I think that if Levante gets points or they win, they're going to put a massive pressure on Sevilla, who has had already this season 2 managers. This is Luis García Plaza. The second, not that the Levante is having a great season either, but yeah, I'm not ready to back anybody in particular, but I think that this game is going to be played with a little bit of fear by Sevilla. And Levante, we know that are a side that struggle to score goals, they struggle to win in general. So I'm going to go for a first half draw. I think that there is a decent money in there, 2.12.
All right. Well, if Tottenham are going down, it's a big thing in the Premier League. It's also a big thing if Sevilla or Valencia go down. A massive thing in La Liga. Shadra, Sevilla must win to stay in the relegation battle. At least a point would be positive, in my opinion. But let's see. Next one is Rayo Espanyol. Also, these 2 teams involved in the relegation battle, especially Rayo, only +3 with Elche, but looking much better than Espanyol. Remember, Espanyol is still winless in 2026. The last game was the defeat in the derby, and Rayo playing the conference semi-final against Strasbourg the following week. How do you see this Rayo Espanyol?
I think that this will be an under, really. Rayo doesn't score many goals, and Espanyol lately neither. Espanyol hasn't won in 2026, as you said. Rayo Vallecano has scored only 29 goals. Only Oviedo has scored as little. Oviedo and Getafe, So I'm expecting an under here. I think that there is one of our listeners saying, William Chavira, that under 3.5 is a safe bet. I agree with that. That's a good take. I'm going to go for under 2.5 goals just to squeeze a little bit more value. Under 2.5 goals in this game, 173. I think that this is going to be an under, definitely. So I'm going for that.
All right, under 3.5 goals. Indeed, William is telling us. And the last game is Oviedo Villarreal. We thought Oviedo were dead, and still it's going to be very difficult, but still is -6 with Alaves. They are in the best moment of the season. Oviedo, great win against Celta, against Sevilla in the last two games. And well, Villarreal should be completely relaxed, Alvaro. It looks like they are going to finish third La Liga. Great success. Still favorites, of course, Marcelino's team to win in the Carlos Tartiere.
The thing is that probably Villarreal's ownership, they rate this season really highly, because at the end of the day, they played in the Champions League, even though they didn't do well in the Champions League. We know about that, but that is part of the past. They're going to qualify for the Champions League again. And for a team like Villarreal, just continue being in the Champions League is going to let them do two things. Number one, keep their best players and pay the salaries they are paying, because some of the salaries they pay are quite high. And number two, they're going to be able to invest more in the academy, which is one of the best things that Villarreal has. In fact, this week, Villarreal has announced that they are going to invest more money in improving El Madrigal, which is their ground, or La Cerámica, and also in improving the premises of 𝗀𝗻𝗂𝗃, academy ground. At the end of the day, Villarreal, again, lives out of the academy, and they are going to make another 11-a-side pitch and blah, blah, blah. And this is thanks to the Champions League money. So for Villarreal ownership, this season has been really good. In my opinion, it hasn't been that great, because it's been a lesser Atletico de Madrid. Villarreal was never in the title race. In the Champions League, they haven't been competitive, and in the Cup, neither. But probably they have this financial view that Atletico de Madrid started having in 2012. Let's qualify for the Champions League, and then let's talk. And Villarreal is doing that right now. And this is what little by little, gradually makes you a big team. So, I think that they are doing that. Coming into this game, look, Oviedo is in a good run. Very good run, in fact. They are in a Europa League run. We can put it like that. But obviously, they need to continue, and it's not going to be easy. I know that players like Federico Viñas, for example, are stepping up, the Uruguayan player, and he has scored 3 goals in the last 2 games. They are playing against a team like Villarreal, who are rocky, that's for sure. Villarreal is going to be in the Champions League. We know that, but a few more points will help just to consolidate the 3rd spot. So coming into this game, look, it's very difficult to take a pick here, in my opinion, really, because Oviedo is improving and Villarreal is not getting proper pressure from Atletico de Madrid. And if Atletico doesn't win before Villarreal, then Villarreal won't feel any pressure. So I'm going to go for something a little bit speculative, I suppose, but I think that it normally happens. The half with more goals in this game is going to be the second half, in my view, and that pays 2.1.
All right, we have William or 𝗀𝐿𝐴 going for Villarreal and both teams to score. And we have the other one going for Oviedo, double chance, Shadra, going for the opposite, actually, for this game. Well, guys, this is it for our La Liga match day 33. We are going to be back, by the way, on Friday with another live video, in case you want to catch us live, because Friday we start a new match day. We have Betis Real Madrid, for instance, on Friday. So hopefully we are back on Friday. Remember, guys, the tipster competitions are available for you in our website. There is a chance to win money. There you go, Italian guy, Ukrainian, and Portuguese on top in this month of April. And also check out Rivals and create your own tipster league. Alvaro, let's go with your safe bet.
Yeah, Asian handicap -1 for Barcelona, 134.
And the ACCA?
Well, apart from what I said before, Mallorca to win and 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 to score, which pays 6.5, and I'm going for value there. Mallorca is the following: Athletic de Bilbao to win, Asian handicap -2 for Barcelona. Altogether 3.95.
All right, Alvaro, thanks everyone for watching. See you on Friday. Bye-bye.
See you.